Get sure we're in all the right places. So, dun, dun, dun. So we're streaming now, Tony.
Yes.
What? Okay, 'cause I'm trying to find this. There we go. There it is. Nope, that's not it.
Unbelievable.
I don't. What's happening, everybody? Good Thursday morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are dialing into. We're here to talk about the realities of the closer game and continuing a conversation that was started a couple of days ago. You can find that other live in there. We dove deep and got into a lot of stuff, pushed a lot of buttons around salespeople and closers and things that go on, things that go bump in the night in closer land. And there was a lot of just sharing from the heart, the straight facts of what is, man. We stuff everything that we see, that we understand, that we are witnessing, that happens in the closer game. All the things that are happening right now, that all the discrepancies in thought, all the misperceptions, that people seem to think, the disconnect from what's happening with founders who believe that if they just throw a bunch of salespeople at their pile of leads, that magic will happen, and sales closers who seem to think that selling means just waiting for a full calendar of highly qualified appointments to show up your way is all that's involved. And both are wrong. Both are drastically missing the point. And we're going to dive into some of that today. We're going to talk a little bit more about the closer piece, but we're really going to emphasize today more of this conversation from the founder side. What's the founder's role in this, in causing this dilemma, and how do we solve for it? So we're gonna jump in here. Jim Padilla here with Gain the Edge. We specialize in scaling companies with sales teams, building legendary enterprises that are ready for world-class exits, right? We want to get people scaled and moving so that you would become a class of one sellable business so that you
Hell yeah.
sell and exit for pleasure, or for profit, or keep it and run it for pleasure, because the most effective business you're ever going to run, the most enjoyable business you'll ever have, is the one that is ready to sell, because that means you're not directly involved in doing everything, and everything works right. And on here with me is my friend John Schutte, who is a mindset inner game guru, man, wise well beyond his years. Don't let the baby face fool you. And Sanj, say hello, man.
I did my makeup today. I got a haircut at 9:15 last night.
There you go.
Just so that way I could pretend to look pretty for all of your kind folks. Um, I really like talking about this stuff because I work with or I talk a lot with recruiters, I talk a lot with sales reps, and I talk a lot with the owners of businesses, and it's really simple, right? But people, their mind gets in the way, right? And then it clouds their judgment of how to do things, right? The cool thing about building a sellable business is it's pretty cut and dry how it's supposed to go down, right? There's a checklist of things that need to be in place for it to be sellable. So you can literally go down, like I was thinking about it while I was getting ready. I was thinking about it in the shower. I don't know if that's okay to say to your people, but I was like, man, I wonder what Jim thinks about not my shower, but what Jim thinks about like having a really like renegade rebel closer. Like he closes really well, but he's the kind of guy who's not going to dial the leads and he's going to leave if there's some kind of lull, and what effect that has on the sellability of the business, because that becomes a liability from my perspective. If I was buying a business, I wouldn't want to buy a business that hinged on, one or two like really good closers, but they don't do all of their job and they have no loyalty and they aren't part of a team, but rather they're just those kind of guys come around to just take money out of the company and they justify it by making money for the company. They aren't actually part of a team, right?
Right.
So I was thinking about that. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but whatever you want to talk about, obviously today. But
Yeah.
that's what I got on my mind.
Yeah, well, we touched on that a little bit, saying that that's a lot of the conversation that we have with with these salespeople. I had some, we were trying to fill a role, and literally out of 24 candidates who responded to the post, and the post that we was very specific in that we're looking for people who are prepared to outbound. And they come in going, yeah, I'm looking for responding to the closer role. I mean, did you read the ad? Because I had sent them a 1 minute video that says, this is what's expected. This is the deal. You'll have appointments, but you are also expected to supplement and put more appointments on the calendar by outreaching to the 1,000 or more leads that are coming in every month. And most of them just immediately ghost as soon as I send that video because they don't want any part of that. And that's so again, if you're going to be designing and selling, building a business that's going to be set up to scale and sell, um, you have to be able to account for that because that you can't control. But what you can control is what wraps around those people. And so if you have a business and a system that is designed to supplement and support the salesperson, the sales role, to be able to do the things that they need to do, then because that is part of your responsibility as well. It's not your responsibility just to have a pile of leads. Now, you can do whatever you want. You can hand them a phone book like as they gave to me, back in the day, or we just dropped people in neighborhoods and said go knock doors, and that was how we made money. And that's fine. It's just you have to understand what is around you. And the way that this really works is as the founder, you have a special magic, right? A secret sauce. And you created the widget, the solution, the thing, the product. And so everything is designed to do. You don't just know what's in the manual, right? Whereas a salesperson usually just knows what's in the manual because that's all you give them. Here's the manual. This is what this does. It slices and it dices and it flushes and it cleans and right. But you don't know that it does other things because it's not in the manual. But you, as the designer of it, knows all the things it can do, all the ways you've used it, all the reasons you've created it, and all the things you haven't even seen it do, but you know it's capable of doing. Right. So that stuff has to be made up for somewhere and somehow. And when you're talking to somebody, I use this, I always use the Tony Roma's example. Tony Roma's is this chicken and ribs joint, essentially, is upscale chicken and ribs joint that used to be a lot more. They had closed down many of their locations over the years. But I used to love this chicken shrimp skewer deal. Right. It was a special place. It's the only thing I ever ate when I went there. And then we went to one in New York when we were there, and I ordered that, and it was not on the menu, and my server couldn't do anything for me. And I said, the ingredients are not super complicated, and I do see them in other items on the menu. Could you go ask somebody if it's possible to make it? And then she went, and the cook who was online knew, oh yeah, it's not no longer on the menu, but I know exactly how to put that together for him because I've been here for 10 years. And so I got my dish. Well, if you don't know the off menu items, I would have had to eat something else, but instead I got to eat the thing I wanted because somebody else knew where the off menu stuff was. Right. And you got to think of it like that with a sales team. It's like if the longer somebody's with you, the more they know about you, the more they remember that funky deal that went sideways and you saved it because 6 months ago, or this special client who was like a unicorn client that signed up and joined and did some great things, or the person who got this monumental outcome because they're here and they've been around. Your job is to design and build into the system and the process that accounts for those experiences. It's not just having testimonials here, but it's like, how do you train them? How does everybody understand the ebbs and flows of the business, not just what the product does? Right. There's so many things that have to happen that allow, it's like if let's just picture the prospect comes in the door here and you have this gap to fill. And you, as the founder, can fill this entire gap yourself. But when you remove you from the process, it's now a bigger gap. I'm going the wrong direction. It's a bigger gap. And you can get them this far, but now we need systems, structures, processes, offers, tools, templates, AI, training process, everything to close that gap because the salesperson can't be you. They can't replicate you. They can only do the best version of them. And then the more we can do with team templates, structures, strategies, resources, automation, and design the experience that closes the gap, that lets the business collaborate with the salesperson to deliver the same experience you would provide as the founder. That's our mission. That's what we do. And most founders aren't even thinking like that. I guarantee you what I just said is probably like a what to most people because you're not thinking that way. You're just thinking, man, there's the leads. I can sell them. How come you can't? Right? So what's wrong with all that thinking? What are you hearing and all that, John?
So I whenever I was setting in the DMs, I actually tried to become someone else. Highly don't recommend it. It's not good because whenever you be someone else, like let's say you have all these people who watch social media, especially the founders. I find this just as much in founders as I do in the sales reps, where they're being, Alex Hormozy, or they're being this guy, or they're being that guy. Nothing wrong with Alex Hormozy as a person himself, as an individual being himself. But you being him means that you not only take on his personality traits, you also take on his problems. And I find a lot of people have way more problems as the result of trying to be somebody else. Like if you're trying to be, this guru on Facebook,
Right.
well, you don't know what problems they have. But the thing is, when you take on their personality, you will bring on their problems. And I find whenever you start being yourself, that kind of goes away. But the reason why I bring that up is because whenever I was selling in the DMs, there is a way for a sales rep to almost be like the founder. And what I did is I watched every piece of content that we put out twice. I watched all of our courses twice. I took the notes. I went through it like a client. I did everything. I did the business course. I did the finance course. I did the mindset course. I did all the stuff that we were selling. I did it twice. And I was trying to engulf myself. This is actually part of the thing that I'm building right now is you obsess over the market, right? You can be just as good at as a founder at selling if you can understand the actual problems and how they're worded by the prospect and then how they were translated into marketing and then how to communicate that yourself. And if the founder is really good at marketing, they should be really good at belief shifting. So everything that you need to shift beliefs will be in the majority of the marketing content that you watch in the company. You won't need any sales training if they're good at marketing. If they're terrible at marketing, that sucks. I
Yeah.
guess you just gotta, be a better salesperson. But I every time I talk to somebody, because that's the thing is whenever you don't sell somebody, you should nurture them. And then for the founders, this is the easiest way for your sales rep to nurture somebody is have them go through your content, and anytime they didn't buy, have the rep send them through more content that was exactly like perfect for whatever problem they're currently having. And then they'll be happy
100%.
because you still help them even though you didn't buy something.
Totally.
And
And that's 100%. That's exact. I mean, that's a big, big chunk of what our systems are about. We make sure that that occurs. When you if and this is funny because again, we go back to the closer perspective, all I hear from closers all the time is ROI, ROI, ROI. I'm spending too much time in meetings. I'm spending too much time in training, blah, blah, blah. We have a new team that we just put into a new campaign and they spent 3 weeks going through our training and onboarding process because we have them do that exact thing. We have them consume webinars, trainings, podcasts, videos. You need to have the DNA and the thought process, the capacity, the energy, the presence of the founder. The more you have it into your bones, the easier it just comes out of you. And because you understand it and you believe it and you buy into it. And then you need to opt into everything that you think the prospect is going to opt into so you can see the journey they're on and experience that as well. So that when they have a question, you go, hey, remember that email you saw? Remember that video you watched? Remember this? It's like you can put so much, you can put things back to them. One of the easiest parts about third party selling is being able to just say, hey, John, when they go, yeah, I just don't know if I'm not sure if this is for me, if I'm not, and say, John, what did you see in that video that made you think it was? What did you hear founder XYZ say that made you think this is the right place? Because you showed up here for a reason. Put it back on them. They know the answer. Just get it from them. Get them to vocalize it, right? But the more you know and embed, and most people just don't want to do it. right? But that's part of the process. But as the founder, you can't control that. You have to make sure that that's provided. And then we have to ensure that the culture is such that the team knows that's how they win. And so they do it because that's what winning looks like, right? And then the evidence just shows the more you do that, the easier it is to make the sales, and the more sales will occur. And follow up and working pipeline is that we have something we just call an asset file. And in that asset file, we come up with every possible objection, scenario, hesitation, block, challenge, everything that can come up. And then they're all on a sheet. And then we find a piece of content that will address it or resist to help you move through it. And it's usually either a podcast episode or a video you did or a soundbite or a reel or a little piece of content or a white paper or a third party validation. Maybe who did you see, a politician or Tony Robbins or somebody echo something exactly that you said. So then he's validating what you do as a solution, right? There's so many ways and things that you can put into place that will help you smooth things over and move people one step closer to you, whether it's before they show up or after you have a conversation. It all fits and it's all relevant, right? But this is all the stuff. It's double-ended. Salespeople, you need to be involved in this. Because if all you do is, again, show up to close sales on a conversation, you're not doing all of these things and you are deficient and you're a liability. But the founder's job is to make sure that all of that stuff is available and provided. And then, if you don't know how to put it into a great system and structure, that's the kind of stuff that we do. But I love everything that you're saying. That's exactly what, a professional salesperson should do.
Yes. But at the end, like, because it's not about being the founder, to be abundantly clear. Okay. It's about if you want to be able to understand what the founder understands, that's a great thing. But don't try and be the founder. Be yourself. You can't sell by being somebody else.
Right.
Okay. You can. People do that all the time, actually. But I mean, if I was to give you an option, be yourself or be somebody else, what would you choose?
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of times people would choose somebody else because somebody else has a better life than them, right? A better life, meaning they have more money. But typically, those wealthy people, unfortunately, are way more depressed than you are, right? So be careful what you ask for. But um, in I had a thought. So if it comes back to me, I'll let you know. Um, but yeah,
While you're gathering that, to echo what you say, one of the isms that we have here in Gain the Edge is that nothing will ever be as effective for you as being yourself when you sell, because the most enrolling thing you can ever do is be you. Right. So you being the best version of me doesn't help you earn the money I've earned, doesn't help you close the sales I've closed, doesn't help you get the clients I've gotten. You bringing my perspective, my mindset, my thoughts, and my beliefs to your words and your beingness, that's how you win. Right. Because I know what needs to happen, but it needs to happen through you and how you communicate and how you show up and how you are present. Because when you're talking to people, you have the right words. You already know what needs to be said. You just have to actually believe that you can say them, and because there's something here magical and awesome for this person that you're speaking to, and you have to trust that they took the right off ramp on the freeway that they're on to come down your road in the first place, and your job is to affirm every step that they've taken, so that as they are getting closer to you, they're like, yeah, this feels like the right place. I'm glad I took this off ramp over here, and I'm glad I'm checking this out, because every decision needs to feel good and unique and clarifying. If it's just like everybody else's stuff, if you get a booking link template and you don't customize it and add the things in to put a unique experience in it because you just wanted to slap this thing in here because it's fast and easy, that's great, but that's not going to provide those kind of experiences and nuances that used to be an advantage. Now it's a necessity just to be even, right? So you
yeah,
got to be thinking this stuff through all the time.
it's simple. Uh, I have a were we wanting to focus more on founders today?
Founders, ideally, we're going to bounce it back and forth, but yeah, we want to make sure that the founders recognize the role that they got to be playing in this, And as a closer, as a salesperson, it's not a matter of, hey, founder, you don't have this stuff for me. It's how can you be the valuable asset and resource that can help them actually put this stuff together? How do you come packing with your own suitcase that says, look, man, if you don't have it all, here's all the things that I need to have in place that I can help put in place before I sell for you so that I can be effective, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you as a founder, I love that. Don't come in and tell me what to do, but come in and say, hey man, let's do this together. Right. We like to hire people that we call batteries included. Right. I stole that from Lee Richter. Um, Lee out there, love you. But batteries included means when I open up the package, the battery's already inside and you know how to operate. Right. Not somebody's going, okay, what do I do? What do I do? How do I do it? Tell me what to do. No, I want you to tell me what you need to do and how do I support you in doing it. Right. That's batteries included.
It's pretty simple. The thing I was thinking was, not everybody's cut out for sales
Hmm.
because, like, I was too scared to knock doors, but I still stuck sales through. Whenever I was selling cars, I was studying everything I could about the car and learning about how to talk and be friendly. And whenever I joined, at least my most recent uh, teams, but yeah, I mean, even my first online remote sales team, I joined the team and I went through the program and I went through a bunch of the marketing. I didn't go through it as much as I would now, but it was like natural to me, right? And I'm not saying there's any such thing as a natural born salesperson, but you're given these steps. And also logically, if you don't know how to sell to a market, the next thing you should think logically is, how do I get to know my market? But instead, you do the wrong thing and you say, how do I learn how to sell? That's like saying, how do I get a woman to love me? Not how can I understand the woman I have, right? Because if you understanding, if you have closeness, affinity for somebody, if you understand what's going on in their world and they understand your world, you share worldviews and you communicate, that's going to equal understanding, that's going to equal love, and it's going to be very easy to be around each other. So the easiest way, it goes in this order: you communicate, and if you can't communicate directly with your market, you need to communicate about your market, right? And then you need to gain reality on what your market is, right? Reality is agreement as to what is, right? So you need to understand what their agreements are in their life as to what is to them, not what you need to make them think, but what do they already see as true in their life. You need to find out what their beliefs are, and you need to obsess about this as a,
Obsess. I love that
and
word. That's a
yes, like
good
this
word.
is, if you're going to sell to somebody, you should obsess about that somebody. If you're going to get married with somebody, you should obsess about them. You want to make sure that they're happy, and as a team that you guys move towards your goals together, right? It's not two separate things. See, salespeople
Right.
learn the skills of sales, but they don't learn the skills of communication and being
Correct.
interested in another person. You don't need sales skills. I went through like I went through Cole Gordon, I went through NAPQ, I went through I read the Straight Line Selling book. I read like four other sales books. I went through a crap ton of Grant Cardone. And I'll tell you, the single-handed most effective thing that I've done to improve my communication was learn how to communicate.
Yep.
And it wasn't anything to do with those sales trainings whatsoever. They Now, Grant Cardone stuff I love because it increased my aggression. I was willing to sit there and handle, and sit at somebody's table while I'm sweaty, nervous, and I still was trying to handle objections, right? But at the end of the day, it's communication. And if you want to get better at communicating with a certain group of people, you need to increase your understanding about them. And you could talk to ChatGPT about them. You can take all the sales call recordings from the company, throw them in, like take the transcripts, throw them into AI and have it analyze. I had it do this with my clients because I wanted to find out who my ideal client was, and I had it analyzed 100 data points about my clients, their age range, like all the way to what video games they play, what shows they like, everything I possibly could understand. and extrapolate from the data I had. So that way, whenever I'm talking to them, they know
Yeah.
I'm talking, right? If I send an email out, an email blast as a sales rep or as a founder, or a text blast, I know that this exact wording is going to hit with them because it was written for them, right? It's like sending a letter and sending a letter to your mom, right? The way you write to your mom is not how you would write
Right.
to, like, I don't know, your congressman, right? But if you understood your congressman and knew his likes and dislikes and all the things that he loves, I bet you he would start reconsidering all the things you put in your letter because he would feel understood,
Right.
right?
And so this needs to come from both sides. Again, by listening here, I want you to understand this is not just a conversation to the salesperson. It's everybody's responsibility to deliver this. And so you need to be thinking about this, and if you think, oh, I already know that, just then think on a more nuanced level, because I'm guaranteeing you're not thinking about it deeply enough and clearly enough to make it effective. Um, when John used the word obsess, and that is again core principle that we teach: obsess about your client's problems, because number one, best way to stop worrying about your own problems is start solving somebody else's.
That's real.
And when you start obsessing about their problems like we do yours, that's why we're here talking to you, because we think about you all the time. We think about salespeople, we think about founders, because we think about the problems that you have in trying to work together. We think about the problems you have in attracting each other. We think about the problems that you have in absolutely misunderstanding each other. It's 100% freaking misalignment most of the time, about what you believe the other is thinking when you're usually so far wrong. It's not even
No
funny.
communication.
The communication isn't there, and you just have to be thinking about what are their problems, what are their problems, what are their problems, what are they wants, what are their needs, what are their desires, what do they want, what determines when they're ready, and at what stage of readiness and need and desire, right? These are all the things you have to be thinking about. So the company is providing tools, resources, and solutions towards the prospective buyer, bringing them closer, and equipping the sales team with tools, resources, that will also allow them to do their job more effectively and easier. And everybody's got to work together. Closers, you can't be thinking, I don't do that stuff because I'm a 1099. I don't show up on meetings. I don't care about your CRM. I got news for you. Your tenure here will be short-lived because you are demonstrating that you don't care about my company. You only care about your revenue, and that's going to be that makes you a transactional person, and you're not. You only have a very short, useful life. And as the founder, it's not the salesperson's job to be a magical unicorn. It is their job to show up and do the best possible version of themselves for you, an extension of your brand, and provide a world-class experience for the end user. And the more you can do to equip them to do that, the better everybody is going to eat and work together. So this is an absolute all-together, all-in experience. Um, as we used to, when we first started this, done for you sales operation decade and a half ago, we had this perspective of the client is always got to be served. And so if there was ever a conflict, we're like, okay, let's make sure that the client is getting what they need. But then we started realizing that came at the expense of our team. And so we said, okay, well, let's switch it then. Maybe everybody says, well, you got to serve your team. If you serve your team, it's like happy wife, happy life, right? Happy team, happy client. But that's not always true either, because then if there's a conflict or a disagreement, and if you make the team the most important, that means your clients are always getting the short end of the stick, and that doesn't work either, right? So then we after much thought and after a couple of years of doing this, what we really leaned into and recognized was that the mission has to win. When the mission wins, the mission serves the business, the mission serves the sales team, the mission serves the prospective buyer, and it serves us as the company who's providing both ends of all this equation. Serve the mission, which means you go there. You'll hear 50-50 partnerships, right? I don't believe in that. I believe 100-100. I mean, it's my responsibility. Like if we showed up today, John, you'd have anything to say, I got you covered. And I know if I have anything to say, you got me covered, right? It's like we're fine, we're jamming, we're good, and it's not like, oh, I'm going to say half and he's going to say half. We're each going to share what we feel like needs to be shared, and that's what this conversation is going to be about, right? And so as you guys have questions, drop them in the chat, and or if you have anything you're triggered, if you think screw you, say that too. I want to know, like where what, but don't just say screw you randomly. Say me screw me about this, so I know what the heck you're angry about, and we want to know. But bottom line is, well, again, we're not sharing anything that we think is belief in concept. We're sharing exactly what we see every freaking day. That's why we're doing this.
Absolutely. I don't know what the fuck else to say. Communication solves all problems. So if you okay, here, I'm gonna give this to both founders and reps. If people get defensive, it's because they're hiding something. It's because you're getting close to finding out something that they did that they shouldn't have done or didn't do that they should have done. And as a result, they're backed in a corner. It's like, they bare their teeth and they'll point their finger at you and make you feel wrong, right? Other symptoms are constantly trying to make others right their wrongs, but you're never righting your wrongs. If you're not righting your wrongs, you probably have lots of wrongs, and it's hard to confront, right? Especially like the founder has an idea that they always have to be right and they can't be wrong, right? So then they will go through whatever efforts they need to make the other person wrong, so that way they can maintain power because they think being right means power. And also, power is just the amount of work you can get done in a unit of time. Everybody on the team can be powerful. Okay. And if you're trying to lord power over and get your team to submit to you and you dominate your team, then you are suppressive. You are pushing them down so you can rule over them. That is also not a good thing to do, right? Communication solves all things, which means that you cannot have any blocks to communication with your team. Blocks to communication with your team can include anything. It could be your sales rep not wanting to fully share their thoughts with you because they're afraid of getting fired. And it could include you not wanting to piss off your sales reps or not wanting to piss off anybody on your team. So then you tiptoe and you're too nice, right? And that's a big thing with salespeople, especially, is that you can't be nice. Fuck being nice. I'm not nice. I wouldn't say I'm mean, but I like, if somebody hops on a sales call with me, number one, I'm not going to tiptoe around their problems. I deal with somebody's emotional problems, and I will say, "Oh man, it sucks that you're all afraid," and then he starts laughing, and then we laugh together. It's this goofy thing, right? Because I'm not worried. I'm not tiptoeing around their problems because I can communicate about it, right? So anything that you can communicate about, you'll feel more comfortable with, and it cannot bother you. So if you can communicate about your emotions, that's what I'm here for. By the way, handling your mental shit. If you can communicate about that with somebody, then somebody will communicate that to you, and your prospects will. Whenever they hop on calls with you, they will feel more comfortable sharing with you because you're comfortable sharing with somebody else, and you're comfortable getting it handled by somebody else, right? For example, in addition to that, as a founder, you do not have to maintain status. You have to maintain stats. Okay. If you're trying to maintain status, then you are building a business to serve your own self validation. And if you're building a business to serve your own self validation, fuck you. Because you're only doing all of this for you. There's 8 areas of life, right? There's self, there's family, sex, and relationships. That's number 2. There's number 3, which is a group. That's what you're serving when you run a company. And if you're running your third area of life to serve yourself, you're selfish. Fuck you. Nobody cares about you because you don't care about anybody. You're doing this all for you. These are all the guys who show, look at my boats and my houses and my cars. I love boats and houses and cars. They're fucking cool and fun and all that kind of stuff. All I want to listen to is a loud V8 to V12 engine go vroom. I love that. I like that shit, right? And that shit's expensive to do. But at the end of the day, if you're doing that, oh, look, so that way you can say, look at what I have. Look at how good I am. Look at how big my business is. So you can get validation because some girl in high school rejected you, or because your dad doesn't, you don't feel like he's proud of you, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Then you are selfish, or literally just because you want to dominate people. You want all the money and the status and the fame and the fortune to be able to dominate others. You are doing things for yourself. And in a company, I actually, Jim, I love your philosophy on this. I think it's really good because I agree with it. Is you should put the mission first, and you should have a very clear mission, and you should know exactly where you're going, right? And as long as you're putting that first, then it's very easy to keep everybody on track because you don't look at emotions, you don't look at anything but statistics, and are we getting closer to this goal? And our statistics going up and to the right? And this is the other thing. If you're a founder and you're running off of sheets and you do not have graphs, you're fucked because you cannot tell anything from numbers on a sheet. You need a trend line. You can only measure and grade statistics based on a trend line. You can't just look at a sheet. You would have to draw a trend line to know if your trend was going well, if it's going up or down, right? And if it's going down, you got to do, there's formulas actually that you run based on where each statistic is. If it's up like this, there's a certain formula you run. If it's down like this, there's a certain formula that you run. And you should always be running some kind of formula on your statistics. And you should also, there are also things that you can run to manage your staff to ensure that everybody has a good, clean relationship and that all things are aired out. And yeah, so what if it's weird personal stuff? Who cares? We can get it cleaned up because on there's something called, well, there's a concept basically. You don't bring your mental stuff to your job, right? Like whenever I'm doing our last call, I was sick and mentally fucked up, Jim. I was like pretty down, and yet I still showed up pretty well. I'm coming off the sickness today, but
Right.
could you tell that I was sick?
I can tell a little something was off, but no, I mean, you showed up,
Right,
you were there.
exactly. So
Thought you did great.
gotta put it aside. And that's the thing is, if you are letting any kind of resistance to talking to somebody, or I don't want to communicate with this person, get in the way of you actually being able to handle a problem, then that problem is going to persist and get worse. And also, both for the founders and for the reps, if you are not doing what you should be doing or doing something that you should not be doing, in a company, you will be consistently looking for new opportunities. Because if you rob a bank, you do something bad to the bank. What does a robber do immediately after he robs the bank, Jim?
Runs, go spends
Yes,
his money.
the area that he committed harm to, right? So that's what you want to do anytime you want to leave your company or you want to go find another sales position, is you are trying to get away from that area which you caused harm. So all these things make up like 99% of all problems, at least so far in what I've learned. There's other stuff that I needed to learn about this, but and so far in what I've learned, that's really the only three main things. No communication, you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, and you're not looking at stats. And if you
Yeah.
actually implement those three things properly and accurately, even if you do it improperly, it'll still improve things. But if you do it
Yeah,
properly, it will completely change the trajectory of your company and the relationships of everybody inside your company.
for sure.
That's why I
Along those lines too, with the stats, you have to make sure that you're looking at stats and just understanding that it's all just feedback. It's all feedback, and feedback is to be taken and communicated with a pencil, not a hammer, right? Because all you need to do is be like, "Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what this piece of data is telling me," and then you just need to ask questions about it. Say, "Why did this happen? What caused it? Was it, is this consistent? Was it a trend? Is this happening all the time? What's happening before it that might be causing it?" You just got to be really good at asking questions because, again, data is nothing more than feedback. Write that down, type it in the chat, wherever. Just data is feedback. And most people do it with a hammer. Either is for yourself because you go, "Oh my God, I only converted at 10% this week," and you're beating yourself up. You're going, "Man, I suck," or you go, "Man, the leads suck," and you're beating up them or the company, or you go, "Man, this company's a joke," or "My salesperson sucks," or there's always something to beat up. And so if you take feedback with a hammer, all you're going to do is destroy things. When you take feedback with a pencil, then you start fixing things, right? You just look at it because these numbers, because all the numbers are doing is telling you information. They're taking what's been given in and they're spitting out new data that you can then make decisions with. And that's what this is supposed to be doing. And so you can unilaterally and arbitrarily make decisions, or you can say, you can code to the team and say, "Okay, guys, here's a trend that I'm seeing. What do you think we should be doing about this? What should we as a company be doing about this? And then what do they need?" Maybe they need something that they haven't even thought about asking for, but now the conversation is being presented. And so, we want to make sure pipeline meetings aren't about beating people up. Pipeline meetings are about talking about what's coming. What revenue do we have coming in the coming days, weeks, months, right? And then training is about training. Training is about what's missing and what's broken. And you want to be able to look at numbers and talk numbers, but you need to be able to speak to them just purely in the feedback mode. I'll give, Bill Barron, some of you guys may know him. He was one of the first clients we ever had in our done for you model. And then at one point, he actually had an equity stake in our company because he saw what we were doing and just really believed in it. And one of the things that I learned from him that I'll never forget, and I've taken as a leader, is anytime something was off track, all he ever did was ask questions. And there were times where we just shot ourselves in the foot. We're like, oh my God, we messed this up so bad. And his whole thing was, hey, what do we need to do different? What are you seeing? What do we think is happening here? What do we need to make? And I always respected it because there were times where I was like, man, he's going to let me have it. And it wasn't like that. He was such a great role model of what phenomenal leadership is. Just asking great questions, having clarity, great communication, right? And trying to put himself in our shoes. Like, I wonder what could be happening that I might be missing. And he was asking those questions genuinely, not like, where's the results? It was, what's going on? What am I not seeing? Help me see it. And then our job was to help him see it. And then we're like, oh, then we collectively go, here's the problem. And let's figure this out. Let's try this. And then let's see what that gives us. And then along those lines, talking about trend lines and graphs, you also have to have an insane amount of tolerance to understand that change does not happen in a minute. If you make a change, you need to put your hands in your damn pocket, stop pushing buttons and stop screwing with things and let this thing prove itself out. Right? If you're doing high volume, you're doing thousands of calls a week, you can get data fast. If you're doing, if it takes you a month to run 100 calls, then wait the month. You're not going to typically see a lot of relevant information over the course of 10 calls. So give it, give it 100. We tell our clients when we come on to new campaigns or we make new shifts, we want to see 100 conversations, 100 sales calls before we make any change to the data. We can't make a change after 12. That's not enough. 27, we're starting to see some things and we can, maybe make some adjustments, but let us run 100. Let's get to a place where, we got a good control set. We'll have good data. We'll have enough trends to know that this happened 17 times and here's why, right? Whatever the numbers are, but you got to have patience. You can't be reactive. A reactive founder will destroy a sales team because then people will be gun shy. They'll do what John was talking about. They won't tell you the whole truth because they'll be afraid if you say something stupid, you get canned or you get put to the bottom of the rotation or whatever the thing might be. It's just be open and remember, obsess about your problems, about the client's problems. Doesn't just mean obsess about the prospective buyer's problems. If you're a salesperson, obsess about the founder's problems. How can you be a solution besides just being the closer guy? And if you're the founder, obsess about the salesperson's problem. What could you do to provide more support, guidance, and ease in their process so that they can win for you? Right? It is all there. Serve the mission.
Pretty easy.
Completely.
Yeah.
I used to referee high school basketball, did a little bit of college, and I was pretty good at it. I obsessed over it. Like, it's kind of how I do things. So I got really good, watched a ton of tape, did all the stuff, watched hundreds of games and asked a lot of questions. But in my second year, I was doing a playoff game. And it was down in the Bay Area with two very high profile teams. It was a little intimidating. And my partner was this guy named Don Jacobs. Never forget him. He had done college. He'd been doing like a 22-year vet at this time, and I'm in my second year. He had done NCAA regional games and Final Four games. So he had just nothing but confidence, charisma, ease, grace. And what we do before you do a game, the officials, we meet. We do a pregame, whether it's a 2 or 3-man team. And what are we working on? What is this game about? Is there anything we need to worry about? Is there a coach that's coming back from suspension? Is there anything we need to know? Is this like a money on the line for this game? And then what we would always do is look at each other and say, okay, what are you working on? Like, I might be working on getting to the end line to enhance my view, or working on not watching the ball in flight, or working on how I communicate with physical contact in the paint, right? Different things. Everybody's always working on something. That way you can help your partner offset. And what he told me this was the time, once I told him I'm in my second year and I'm working on this. And he said, look, here's the deal, man. The only thing that matters is that we win as a team, and we win as a team when we're not part of the problem, right? We are there to ensure they are all safe and successful. And intentionally, we should be invisible. And so he said, the goal here is there's not a 50-50, it's 100-100. And if I got to be the 90 to your 10 because you're trying to fine tune one part of your game, you just make sure I know where that is. And the goal is we win because he had the capability to do it. Right. So I was like, hell yeah, let him be him. Let him be the superstar because he is. Let me be the great partner who will own the piece that I'm doing really well. And then we crushed it. It was a fantastic game. It was a TV game, all this stuff. And I felt like $1 million. I felt like we won as a team, even though he did 90% of the piece. It wasn't that I was not a slouch, but you know what I mean? I didn't have that pressure of trying to be perfect because I knew what I had somebody I could rely on. And you, as the founder, you need to be thinking that way. Don't make them have to be perfect. If you want to see the greatest amount of pressure and the least amount of performance and results from a sales team, make them have to be perfect. Take the pressure off. I don't mind people having to be challenged and operate under, hey, let's get some deadlines and competitions and go win some prizes and let's get you up to leaderboard and put people on the hot seat. But when you make them have to be perfect because the only thing they can count on is themselves, that's a tough way to win. And you'll make a great salesperson average. And why would you want to do that when you could encourage them, support them, enhance their opportunities for success so that you can do the opposite? You can make a good person great and a great person a rock star.
Because you get what you give.
All day.
You want, because like that's what salespeople want, everything from the owner, but don't want to give anything. And then the owner wants everything from the sales rep, but doesn't want to give anything, right? So give freely, right? Good sales professionals know a good opportunity when they see one. So they find yours. Why wouldn't they work for you? Actually ask that question. Why wouldn't they? Right? If you're going to obsess over your market, obsess over your sales reps and obsess over your fulfillment team and obsess over, because you built this company and now you have a responsibility to take care of everybody in the company. They don't have a responsibility to take care of you. You didn't build this company so that way they could feed your family.
Amen.
That's not what you're here for. Okay. If you want to do that, go do trading, right? Where you can take money from other people and put it in your pocket. But right now, you're running a business where you give something of value to somebody else for a fair exchange of money. And then you don't treat your team the same way. Like you treat the market more important than the team. But you won't have a market if you don't continue growing your team because you're either growing or you're dying. So if your stats aren't going up and they're going down over time, they will continue to go down. They totally will. And you have to be the one to change that. And it's how you treat your people that's going to determine that. Because yeah, on the rep side, you should totally get good at dialing. Because like if your calendar is never going to be full. Okay, I've seen maybe like 3 offers where the calendar is totally full. And I got my friend on one of them, $10,000 offer for Mark Lack and just full calendar of high quality leads every day. And I was so jealous. And he was bombing the calls. I hated it. I was listening to his sales calls and I'm like, man, I wish I was writing those, right? Because that would be a good deal. That's a great opportunity. But then you don't get to get better as a sales rep, right? Because I learned more about sales from setting. I had more opportunities to handle objections while setting, right? It's higher volume, right? Or selling lower ticket things. Like if you sell fitness, you have way more opportunities to get better at selling, but you're not going to make a lot of money, right? In setting, you totally can. You totally can make a lot of money. If you outperform a normal setter, you can make like 3 times the income, right? You can make more than a closer makes if you perform really well as a setter. But you can't rely on the business owner to do everything for you, right? They didn't build the opportunity for you. You aren't some, God that we were waiting to show up, and we put together this banquet for you to just eat endlessly all of the leads that we prepared. And on the flip side, the owner didn't like you aren't entitled to anything either, just because you built a good opportunity for a rep, right? That's where you start. That's point zero. You build a good offer for a client. The work starts after the sale's made. So you built a good opportunity for a sales rep. The work starts after they are hired, not before. That was just good enough to get a good person on your team. Now you have to learn how to keep them and maintain them and take care of them, right? So, like, it's not just, I don't know, whenever it's only money focused, there's other metrics too, right? Yes, the money needs to be continuously growing in a company, but like, what about their well-being? Is everybody like healthy? Are they actually happy? Or are they totally depressed in your company, right? Things like that.
Right.
Like, we shouldn't get totally bogged down in everybody's feelings because everybody has them. And if we focus on them too much, you go deeper into your emotions the more you think about them. But it's kind of important, right? Because if you have a bunch of depressed people working at your company, number one, they're more of a liability. They're more likely to make mistakes. And number two, they're more likely to leave, right? Or have problems in their personal life, which then will turn into problems in your company. So your care of your employees allows your mission to continue flourishing. But if you only have a mission for the purpose of making money, it is still just for you.
Well, you want to be thinking about that all the time because, we had a client just the other day has a sales person, on her team that's got some customer complaints. First of all, I tell all of our teams that if we don't get any complaints, then I don't think you're trying hard enough. There should be some because you're constantly trying to push the envelope, testing boundaries and stuff. I said, I can always defend somebody who's pushing the edge to a founder. If I got somebody who comes and says, "Hey Jim, John, get another complaint about John," I'm like, "Look, man, he is trying to get every angle he can, turning over every stone to try to get these deals in place," and I can defend that. But when numbers go down and I have no complaints, then I'm guessing you're not even trying as hard as you can because you're getting frustrated, right? And that I can't defend. That's harder for me to defend to the founder. But here's the real deal: is when numbers start dropping, almost without exception. It's as close to 100% as I can tell you. It's not 100, but it's as close to it as it can be. Whenever the numbers start dipping, there's usually a problem going on in somebody's life. If a rep starts underperforming, who's been performing, even if they're not a rock star, but they're consistent, and all of a sudden things drop, check in and find out what's going on. Don't be like, "What's up with the numbers?" That's where feedback with a pencil comes into place. Hey, what's happening? What are we seeing? Is everything okay? Because you might find out they got a sick relative, or they're going through a marriage problem, or they've got a kid in the hospital, or something. There's always something underneath all of that. And now it's like, okay, can we work through this, work around it? Do we need time off? What do we need to do to make this work? Right? Because you still got to be responsible to the potential buyers because they're here to solve a problem, and you want to make sure that everything can be served well. But take the initiative to find out what's going on under the hood. And maybe it's the fact that they're just irritated with you, but they don't want to say it. And now you open a conversation by checking. But bottom line is you're going to get underneath and what's going on because almost never is it tactics and training. And I give one of my biggest pet peeves is when founders come in and go, "Hey, have you told them to try this and this?" I'm like, "Dude, we wrote the book on that stuff. Yes, we've handled that they always think it's like a objection handling problem or something. Did you train them on this? It's like, good grief, yes, of course we did, and I understand you're frustrated. That's not the problem. There's other things going on here, right? Or, hey, you couldn't pay the commissions on time because sales went low for a week. And so you're waiting on cash flow, but you didn't communicate that. And now all of a sudden they don't know if they're going to get screwed over because they've been used and abused by so many companies that they think you're just going to be another one. right? Or they got a customer who refunded, and all of a sudden they're getting one or two or three of them, and now it's affecting them, and now their confidence is here. If they don't have if it's not all intact here, you're not going to get the results that you want because they're going to be very, very nervous to stay inside the lines, not push any boundaries. Maybe their eyes are wandering, that there's this other campaign they might want to check out. All of a sudden, you're not getting what you need from the team. And it could very well be that you're the cause as the founder or a part of the problem, right? So there's so much, man. Sales is not about scripts and tactics, man. It's so much about the beingness of who you are. That's why our number one rule, as always, is it's not what you're saying, but who you're being that moves the needle in the sales game. Always, always.
Pretty good.
So we got to wrap up here in a couple of minutes. I got another meeting to get to, but we'll have another one. We'll jump on next one here again because we want to continue this conversation further and talk about like setter roles as well, where this factors in because setter, you're not just lumped in with the sales team. You have your own capacity and your own role to play, and the one thing I'll really give you as a teaser is we don't believe in appointment setting. We believe in table setting. Because an appointment setter can just put anybody on a calendar. A table setter sets somebody up to eat well, right? So you want to make sure you are qualifying this person that they're coming to the right place to get a good meal. And because we're not guaranteed a sale. We're guaranteed a great conversation and opportunity, right? That's what we want to deliver. So be thinking about that. And as a founder, how do you provide that? And as a sales person, as a sales professional, how do you enhance that? Right. So one thing that we do have coming up is our Dollars in the Door live selling week coming up, kicking off here next week. And so Monday the 25th is 5 days of live power hours. We're going to get you moving. It's not a sales training. This is about you designing your world in such a way that sales happen so that you are actively but we were going to prove to you that you don't actually have to get better at selling to make more sales. That's the objective here. And so you show up, you will make more sales, you will get more activity, more appointments on the calendar, more revenue through the door, more deals closed, more contracts across the finish line. Because there's just things that we're not doing as professionals that we need to be doing. And it's all just leaving money on the table and opportunities left all around. And there's no reason to because you're already doing the work. So let's just get you to clean it up and do it more effectively. Right. So you take action. So if you want to find out more about Dollars in the Door, just type in dollars in the chat or PM me, DM me, get me in here, and we'll make sure that we get you squared away. John, parting words for today,
Yeah,
founders.
well, if anybody wants to show up to that, I highly recommend it. The reason why I recommend it is because there's going to be how many power hours?
One a day for 5 days, plus we'll probably have some extras.
Yeah, which is cool as shit to me. And what a power hour is, it's where everybody comes together and only does sales activities for that entire hour. Whether it's follow-up styles, whether it's, okay, cool, I just dialed someone, I'm going to pitch them. And the entire purpose is to generate as much activity in as short a period of time as possible to generate more revenue and cash flow, right? And to get you sales in the door. And there's going to be all this other preparation work, all these other things that are going on during the event. But the thing that's exciting to me is that you'll actually be doing selling during the event as part of it, doing something practical, not just learning, but actually applying it immediately. And that is important because then you'll make money as a result immediately and you'll get an immediate ROI. So, if you want to get an immediate ROI and you like spending money, I know you do because I know you have debt on your credit cards that you haven't paid off yet. Okay, so I know you love buying stuff. And if you'd like to get in on this, I'm gonna drop my they gave me a link so that way I could tell you to join. And oh my God, I'm gonna show up for one of those power hours if I can, because I think it's super fun to do, and it's just high energy. You get to sit and you do sales activities together, right? So I'm gonna drop my link in the comments on the lives that I shared. So it's gonna be in two groups in my profile, and if you guys have any questions, reach out to Jim about it. If you want to buy, use my link. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Go forth and prosper, and do good shit. And like you said, be the kind of person who people want to buy from. If people don't buy from you, it's because of who you are, or who you're being rather, because underneath the hood, you're a good person who people want to buy from, but there's mental stuff in the way. And if you
Exactly.
need help with that, reach out to me. If you want to sell more stuff, reach out to Jim. And let's get out of here, man. Let's go do some stuff and pretend to be productive today. So
Amen. I got to jump into a power hour with my team right now. So go make some magic happen. Become the legend that you already are inside. That's what this whole thing is about. We will extract that from you because it is in there, sometimes just buried under piles of denial and frustration. And we will get it out of you so that you can show up large and in charge the way your people need you to be. Right. So join us in the Dollars in the Door live selling week and let us know what's going on. Any questions, any challenges, any pushback. We'd love to hear it. And look for the next one coming up here in a couple of days. We'll be continuing this conversation.
sweet dude. Let's get out of here.
All right, Tony, take us out, man.